Hi, I'm Mike DeBonis, and you are listening to the Audio Description Narrators of America Know Your Narrator series.
Today we have Amanda Bruton with us. She is an actor, a voice actor, and an audio description narrator. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
What do you love about audio description, Amanda?
There's a lot that I love about audio description. I've been doing it, I think, for about 3 years. I had to go back and look and say, I'm like, how long have I been doing this? And I think it's about 3 years. And I think what I love is that it is challenging in a different way. I'm an actor, and so it's challenging in a different way than performing on stage or on screen. And I kind of feel like I get a chance to use some of that good college training that I got, in terms of taking care of my voice, how to warm up, endurance, all of those things. And so I think what's really fun about it. I work primarily with the same team of people, and I really believe in the writing department, in the producers, in my directors that I've had. And it's a really wonderful collaborative experience. Let me not forget the sound engineers, because they're amazing. And I really just enjoy it. I also kind of think of it as a science, because, you're sitting in that booth, you've got the time code, you've got the picture, you've got your script, you have the time codes in your script. And it's kind of like always a challenge of like, am I going to be able to get through this? Will I stumble? How's it going to sound? I see that word that I know I'm going to have a hard time with. Will I get it the first time? I don't know, probably not. And just, yeah, I think I like that combination of both of those things.
Well, it's really exciting. And that collaboration with the science really leads to so many different things. This is the first time in our interviews that I've heard the word endurance. Can you talk a little bit about what that means to you as far as audio description narration goes?
Absolutely. Well, a lot of times, if let's say you get called in to do a film, you might only be, and I do a lot of documentaries, so usually that's a 90-minute film. The way I run, I'm usually pretty close. Like I might be in the booth only for an hour and a half to 2 hours. So that's not a ton of time. You get breaks whenever you want. But then there's days when you're recording series and you might have 8 to 10 episodes that are an hour each. And, the folks I work with are like, well, let's just see how many you can get done. Like if you got the time, I might be in the booth anywhere from like 5 to 6 hours, and you're talking a lot of that time. And so I think it's really important that you're taking care of your voice leading up to it. I'm going to try to make sure that I'm not necessarily drinking stuff that's going to dry out my voice. I'm going to hope that I'm in tip-top shape, because sometimes if I go in there and I've either got like allergies or the beginning of a cold, they can hear it. I think it is really about the care. And it feels like I feel like there have been certain series that I've worked on where it felt like the Olympics of audio description. There's been a couple of series that I had to work on that were documentary series, where I was doing not only the audio description, but some of the subtitles. And so then that means I'm in the booth, and for like a 30 to 40 minute episode, I'm speaking most of the time. So yeah, that's a challenge. And I feel like that's something that, just like going to the gym, you've got to keep it going. You have to keep up with it. And the better care you take of your voice, the more the endurance you're going to have. So
all those examples, the gym, the Olympics, the care, the warm-up, these are all professional athlete terms. And I'm sure there's going to be people listening that say...
And I am not an athletic person by any means, except when it comes to my voice. Right. Like I have terrible hand and eye coordination. I'm terrible. But I can sit, if I'm feeling good and there's no, I don't have a cold, anything like that, I can stay in that booth for a pretty long time. And I like to. I'm like, yes, let's go. How long can we go for? Because I feel like also, this, I'm sure, when you first get into the group and into the booth, it's like you kind of have to like, stretch it out. You got to eke out some of those cobwebs, whatever it is. It takes a minute to get warmed up. And then once you hit that stride, you're like, I can keep on going. You've just sort of like, you're riding that wave.
What a great analogy. Well, let's go back to what you said earlier, that you could be doing back-to-back episodes, 5 to 6 hours talking. If I could play devil's advocate, there could be some people that say, well, yeah, pre-pandemic, I was going to a party for like 5 or 6 hours and I was talking the whole time.
That's so true. That's so true. But I often find, and I don't know about other people, if I've been out for the evening for 5 or 6 hours, or if I've been at a concert, I've been drinking, whatever, when I get home, I sound a little hoarse. Or the next day, like I definitely sound more like, what is her name? Oh, Kathleen Turner. I'm giving you my full on Kathleen Turner. Like the voice is deep. So I would say, like, if you're talking for that long, like your voice is going to start to give out for a little while. And if you're at a party and you're you're hanging out, you're being social, you're not necessarily paying as much attention to your voice as you are when you're in the booth. You're much more concentrated on everything and making sure that your placement is correct and all of that stuff. You're breathing where you need to breathe. You're at a party, all bets are off.
No kidding. And let's stretch the analogy even further when it comes to paying attention. As you had said, you're reading a script to time code, to picture, to audio cues. That party analogy kind of falls apart because you're not spending the whole time reading words to other people.
No. You're just trying to be clever and stay engaged in the conversation. Yep.
Exactly. Well, can you name some of the opportunities you've had with audio description that some might find challenging that you're really proud of how you overcame them?
Okay, well, there's a big challenge I had to overcome recently with the pandemic. Prior to this, I did not have a home studio. I didn't have a home voice booth. I live in New York City. So when someone says like, oh, you're a voice actor and you don't have a home studio, I can't believe it. Why don't you just set it up in your extra closet? And I'm like, I'm sorry. Have you been to New York? We're in New York. I don't know if you know this, but some people don't even have closets. So I said, okay, I've been wanting to do it for a long time. What we have set up is it's basically, it's not a permanent studio. I'm often having to like take my winter coats out, the suitcase, maybe a couple of other things, the vacuum cleaner, and then I set my thing up. I bring my mic in, my computer, all of that. I did fashion it with some excellent foam paneling. Our closet is a really tall space, so I had to do some like foam. We had to kind of get creative. I have to give props to my wife, who was excellent with helping me with this because she's just way better at envisioning these things. But we had to do foam paneling on the ceiling. So we used a lot of command strips, a lot of Velcro, all that kind of stuff, a little rug, everything. And I mean, it's not the most comfortable booth, but it works. But the big thing is that I am not technologically savvy. Like, nope, don't have a clue about how any of it works. I was thinking, they were like, it's easy. You talk to the sound engineers, they're like, this is easy. It's no big deal. I'm like, no, you don't understand. You don't understand. I don't really even know how Google Docs works, or how my computer works. So I'm going to need all hands on deck, and I'm going to need some support. And bless his heart, one of our amazing sound engineers, Dave Hughes, really, he stayed on the phone with me a lot. We were Zoom calling. He's like, we're looking at everything to see how it's all set up. And what ended up happening the first time, I did not have my microphone set up correctly. So now it looks like you have a shotgun mic in that booth. Yeah, that's what it looks like. Right. Yeah. That was the booth that I was used to working with in the studio. What I didn't know is that I had bought myself a condenser mic, and I had the condenser mic pointed straight at me instead of standing up. So because Dave was just like, I don't understand why this isn't. Anyway, so the department and everybody that I work with, I'm never going to live it down, ever. They were just like, which way, Amanda, do you have your microphone set up? Is it the right microphone? Is it set up the right way? Is it even in the room with you? And I'm like, I got it. But it just speaks to how important the sound engineering team is, and what an art it is, and what a collaborative effort it is. So that was definitely a big challenge. I think another challenge that I've had is just in general, I am just kind of like really finding what my voice is as a audio description narrator, because I've done so much work on stage and film too. I am a broad actress. Like I am big and over the top. So with audio description, I find that it's a little bit different than I had done some audiobook narration back in the day. And I feel like then you have the opportunity, you're voicing all of these characters, like you are setting the tone. You can be as expressive as you want. I feel like with audio description narration, there's a line. You're bringing things back a little bit where you are obviously you are telling a story and you are 100% a storyteller, but it cannot be so over the top that you are taking the listener away from the story. We're there to support the story and to support the project. So it's a fine line. You don't want to, I don't want to sound like I'm dead inside, but you also can't be totally over the top. And there's times when, and I don't know if this ever happens to you, when you are describing, it might be a big action scene, it might be a fight scene, it might be like some sort of sporting event, and you're moving quickly because there's a lot of things happen, there's a lot of action happening, and you hear the music and the sound effects, and I get like amped up, I am hyped up. And all of a sudden, like, it'll cut out and I'll hear somebody be like, "You're getting hot in there, Bruton. You're getting hot. Let's bring it back. Let's bring it back." I'm like, "I'm sorry. I was so overcome with what was going on. I got it. I know what happens now, and I can I can bring it back." But that's something that I feel like I've had to find sort of over time, really where that line is and how it works.
I love how you use the phrase "fine line." That storytelling aspect. There's been a real misconception from our audience's perspective that when they're immersed in the story, there's I think a false assumption that means that that you yourself are doing less. And by saying "fine line," I'm imagining this tightrope act that getting hot in there, Bruton, versus you're dead in there, Bruton. That
right, exactly. Like, are you alive? Did you wake up, please? Thank you.
But it's like finding that fine line is a part of the performance to make sure that you're delivering what you need to. Can you talk a little bit about that?
I mean, I think it also depends on the type of project you're working on, what your tone is going to be. So if I'm working on documentary, that's probably like the driest, and because a lot of times too, with certain documentaries, they already have a narrator. So I need to make sure that I sound different. My tone is different. My delivery is different. And so I feel like it's just always being really, really conscious of the tone of the piece. So whether it's documentary, if you're doing something that's more serious, you're going to have some, like, not too much emotion, but there's going to be more of a feeling in your voice. And then there have been a few times when I'm doing comedy or even some like young adult projects or kids, not so much kids projects, but there have been a few like YA, if you will. And so I've got my voice is brighter then. I'm smiling a lot more. I'm like super engaged and sort of poppy, which is not where my natural voice is. That's not necessarily my go-to, but I can go there. So I think it's always being really conscious of the type of project you're working on.
That's great. And in both examples, both setting up your home studio in the closet, as well as like finding your voice, that you're really showing how you as a performer are adapting to the different things.
Right.
I'm curious if you've had any experiences in general with audio description as far as how you see audio description itself adapting. Can you say maybe what your dream world scenario would be like of where you want audio description to be headed?
Well, I mean, the way that we think about audio description now is we are providing more access to the visually impaired community. And that's fantastic. But I also think that while we are focusing on that, I think that there's a lot of other people who listen to audio description. I'm a new parent, and I've heard this from other parents that, if maybe they're cooking in the kitchen or they're doing something else, they're folding laundry, whatever, and they might not be able to give their like 100% undivided attention to the screen, they'll stick the audio description on because then they're getting a much fuller representation of what's happening on screen. And so I guess in my mind, I don't want to think of AD as an accommodation that we're making for a single community, but rather an advancement for multiple populations. Because when you focus on something for one community, so many other communities can benefit. And so I think we just need more. We just need more of it across the board. With closed captioning, it feels like it's everywhere. And that was something that I guess when I was younger, I think is when it just started, where you'd have closed captioning only for like some major network stuff. And now it's everywhere. And obviously I know AD there's more, it takes more to produce it, but I just feel like it needs to be way more widespread. We need it on all the streaming platforms, all the networks, all of the stuff. What's amazing is I was listening to a couple of other episodes, and what I didn't know is that there's audio description for live theater and events and other events. And I was like, whoa, my mind was totally blown. And I need to email those people and talk. Have you ever done that? Have you ever done any live events?
I've had a few opportunities. I find it fascinating because that's the combination of the writing and the voicing, and I don't have the writing skill.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I was blown away because people would often ask me, friends of mine would be like, so are you making it up as you go along? And I was like, are you crazy? No, there's a skilled writing team who has taken great pains to figure out the flow of something, the timing, using words that are going to be easy to come out of a human's mouth, like all of those things that, like, if I was there, I'd be like, the guy opens the door. Oh, this broad, she is looking mighty me. Like, I actually had the thought that I was like, it would be really fun and nerdy, of course, but to get together with a couple of other narrators and maybe audio description writers, have a party, and we sit there and we just improvise. We're like, let's just see who's got the best, like, improvised AD. Let's see how it goes. I think that'd be hilarious, but I don't think I'd ever want to be hired to do that. That is not
Mystery Science Theater 3000 live.
Not in my skill set. Yeah,
right?
No.
Oh, that's great. Is there anything else you'd like to share with our audience?
I mean, I think just in general, and I think I meant to say this in the beginning, I think what I love the most about audio description is I enjoy it as an actual art form, like I was saying, in terms of being able to use my voice. But the fact that I'm doing it to help folks that are visually impaired, to help parents who might not be able to have the time to watch a television show, but the fact that it's for a good cause, that's like the best thing in the world. It's not the type of thing where you're like, well, I just filmed an audition, or I filmed a commercial for, I don't know, a pharmaceutical company. I'm not trying to get political, but I'm just saying this feels like it's for a really, really good cause, and we need more and more access. And that makes me feel good that I'm enjoying the actual work and that it's for an excellent, excellent cause.
Amanda, how can people reach you, either on social media or a website?
Yes, I do have a website. It's www.amandabruton.com, www.amandabruton.com, and Bruton. I am on social media. I'm on Instagram as Amanda_Bruton. Facebook, I usually is something I keep, like, I usually am only in touch with folks, on a more personal level. So Instagram is the great way to go. And I've been trying to tweet more. It's not quite taken on because I've heard now that there's a whole audio description world on Twitter, and that's how people get to engage with folks who are listening to audio description. And I would actually love to have more of those conversations because I want to hear from them what they need, what works, what doesn't work. If they're like, actually, I didn't like the way you delivered this at all, I'm like, great, tell me, because I only want to continue to get better. So I should put myself on Twitter. I think I have an account, Amanda_Bruton. I think that's it. But you can find me on Instagram, 100%.
Very cool, Amanda. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been a pleasure.